Welcome back to Briggs on Books. We've been talking to authors all day from around the world, Scotland, India, Canada, and some right here in the United States of America. Our next guest has been on a few times. He has a very interesting perspective on business and what's going on in the world today. And I want to introduce Pastor Owen Williams. Welcome, Pastor.
Oh, good evening, Mike. Oh, good afternoon. It's a couple hours ahead of you. How are you?
Very well. It's freezing out here in California. It's 60 degrees, so we're just having a problem with that. So
Okay.
we've been
We're in
talking.
the Central Valley in Texas here, and it gets quite cold. It gets down into the 30s. And
Oh my goodness!
Sunday we're going to have go down into the low 20s.
Wow.
Coming down from the plains, they tell me it's a deep
Will,
freeze. So,
will it snow at some point there?
last couple of years we've gotten some serious ice storms, frozen. 5, 6, 7 inches of ice, some snow on top. So,
I can't imagine what that would be like.
ain't that something? Snow in Texas.
I know we've talked a little bit about your book, American Christianity, and about your series, The Corporate Christian. Where do you want to start today?
Well, I mean, what I'd like to talk about is specifically, not the books per se. I mean, yeah, the books, but as well as, in the backdrop of the climate of the country and the world,
Yeah.
and how these books, what we try to bring about. I'm always about, the impact of theology on psychology. I'm always on, studying the Word of God, theology, and the behaviors of man, psychology. So how that impacts that, and what we profess and what we confess, in a sense. And we're seeing some really big gaps, chasms between our professions or our beliefs and our behaviors. And it's quite frightening. Since last time we spoke, things seem to be escalating, and people all around the country, I speak to, what's going on, Pastor? What's happening? How is this going on? And not to mention you have the insatiable news media that feeds it and feeds the vision, which makes the chasm even bigger. So these books kind of bring about, not a prophetic word on society and the world, but the heart of man and what motivates us and spurs us onto these kinds of things.
Now, are you talking about things happening in America or around the world?
Around the world, in the human heart, around the world.
In the human
heart around the world. From that aspect. We talk about, people, the manipulations of people, the greed, the violence of people, the manipulating of fate, the lying, and the hijacking of faiths or religions around the world to be used, for people's own agendas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And at the same time, also the teachers and the guardians of these faiths not teaching it and calling it out and saying, this is wrong. This is not how this is supposed to be. This makes no sense.
We see this in several religions. It's like maybe a manipulation of people through religion, trying to bend people to their philosophy and justify it, trying to back it up with some manipulation of the religion.
Well, in my lifetime and your lifetime, 25, 30 years ago, we saw the jihad movement, the Islamic terrorists, the suicide bombers and the hijackers. And we saw, non-Muslims, ridicule Muslims and imams.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find a way to teach, and we called it being radicalized.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those words? The faith was radicalized. Now we see it happening in Christianity, the radicalization of the faith, which is moved from the Gospels to politics. It's moved from behavior and belief to identity and these kinds of things. It's moved into, nationalism. It's moved into patriotism, not so much to the faith, but to a person or to a country or to a race. And this is not the gospel. This is not, what I teach, and this is not the theological, tenets of the gospel.
Would you even see, as far as you said, nationalism? Would you go as far as saying people are using racism or trying to justify their racism?
Oh, yes, yes. There's a wonderful scripture in the Gospel of Matthew, the 6th chapter, 19 through 23 verses, and it talks about not laying up treasures for yourself on earth where moths and thieves can get it, but store up treasures in heaven that's free of moths and thieves and stuff like that. And then he says, the eye is the lamp of the soul, and if the eye is, dark, then the light can't get in, the whole body's dark. But it's talking about lesser and greater. So, eyes can be dark through external impediments, a sty, a malignant tumor in the eye that one can't see, but then it can also be dark from within, the whole nature of someone. And this is an indictment on leadership and of the church or our political leaders who are manipulating people for their own gain, and cannot see or don't want to see the divisions. Whereas, this is the work of the unjust or the unrighteous. With the righteous, their work is selflessness and sacrificial selflessness towards the kingdom of heaven and to bring the sinner to salvation, by demonstrating and allowing them to feel the love of the gospel of Christ through our sacrificial kindness towards them. That's the foundation of it.
You talk about some religious leaders are doing that, but political leaders, I think, in the United States and in the Middle East are using religion or trying to manipulate the words of whichever book they're talking about into trying to get people to move one direction or another, political leaders.
Yes. Well, and this is where you have the integration of a false doctrine into, a populist movement, that aspect. And it's being used, to sell. And this is where people always make this statement that more wars are caused by faith and religion than anything on the planet. And that's true, but it's not the faith or the religion doing it. It's the people. And man has never, ever accepted responsibility or accountability for our behavior, for what we do.
Right.
We shun that.
Now, do the books examine that, expose that, help guide us through that kind of behavior?
Well, American Christianity gives us a history of, religion in America. We tap onto, as I said, many different topics. We bring us about, the divisions in the society, the racial divisions, the financial divisions, the political divisions in our society, and we talk about, in a succinct way, the dumbing down of a society, the banning of history or changing history to repeat atrocities of what's past. At least some people in society feel that what's happening. But the corporate Christian, especially the book you have up there, the third one, that talks about the war inside. This talks about the individual. What will this individual do? Are you going to pursue your earthly treasures? Are you going to be consumed with self-worship, self-idolization, admiration, manipulation, and the quid pro quo system, to get what you want? Are you going to sacrifice and stand, on principle and morality, these kinds of things, and trust that, your life will be better, off, if you don't make it the easy street, in a sense. But because money plays a significant factor in our society, in this country, and around the world today, people feel that they can't live without it, in a sense, so that they must have as much as they can. And because the rich and wealthy who have it, they use their funding, in a sense, to buy love and buy admiration, through their wealth, not to invest in the kingdom of heaven and through helping humanity and investing in people's lives from that aspect, but they use it to bring about love and admiration, and desire and idolization of them, in essence.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to read American Christianity first. It kind of gives us a history, I think, of how we got to where we are, and then maybe the corporate Christian series. Now, there's three of them, 3 books, I think,
Those are the three books. Yes,
and those
the first one is Christian beliefs versus corporate behaviors. The other one is the individual battling for their beliefs, because you're going to be around a lot of the temptations, enticements, and provocations to withdraw you out of your belief system. Because it's very difficult sometimes to live the Christian life if you are engulfed in and caught up in the rapture of the world, and the things of the world.
yeah.
And it's also, and then also, that battle isn't really a hidden war of when people are trying to bring you out of your faith, in a sense.
Yes, it
when
is.
you must witness the things that happen, whether it be large atrocities or small ones, on the job or in society.
Now, who should be reading these books? I guess the answer is everyone.
I believe everyone right now. I mean, I wrote it for clergy and for seminaries and stuff like that, but I believe politicians. But I believe everyone should read it, because everyone is, in the last year since I've met you, we are sliding down that slippery slope, and I think everyone should be reading these books to get a better understanding. Yeah. And they should read with an open mind, not as we so easily do in our world today. This black pastor, he's picking on white people, or he's picking on the corporate world. But because it's really about individuals, individuals, and holding people accountable.
Right.
And accountability is what is needed. We all seek accountability when something is done against us. Mm-hmm. So we really need to not be so liberal with other people's accountability, and conservative with other people's accountability and liberal with our own. We should always be very conservative with our own accountability as well as somebody else's. Demand it of ourselves and demand it of other people.
Yeah, I ask every guest the question, who should be reading this book? And I guess the answer is individuals. If you're an individual, which we all are, I think these books could help anyone.
Read them before they get banned.
Before they get banned, that's right. I think that every day, whether you're reading the Bible every day or a book or a series, I think a study every day, and especially looking at someone else's perspective and how they present it, I think it's a good idea. We should all have something like that we're working on every day, and I suppose your books would be very good for that.
Yeah, there is a little bit about the Christian faith and the history of it in there, but it's very clear that the connections are being made about behavior. And trying to make it real in our politics, in our churches, in our homes, and where do we seek solace? Where do we find answers? Is it foolhardy, and is it a false pipe dream?
Yeah.
To believe that we can actually love our neighbors?
Yeah.
From that process, is that? But at the same time, I think we do it every day. There's some communities across this country where that happens. Neighbors are friendly to neighbors. They may not have dinner once a week at everybody's house, but they're friendly to each other. They will give the morning graces and the afternoon graces. Have a good night. Have a good day. These kinds of things. And sometimes that's all it takes to keep the peace.
Pastor Williams, I have your website on the screen, oewilliamsministries.com. What would our viewers find there?
Well, you'll find a little bit about me, a little bit about the ministry. We've been operating about 15, 20 years now, and some of the work that we've done. I am a retired pastoral counselor. I was the head chaplain for the New York City Public Health System. I practiced at Kings County Hospital. I was over the spiritual counsel for the system. And we practice a variety of methodologies: clinical pastoral education, solution-focused pastoral counseling. And we had a variety of ministers and pastors. We had imams, we had monks, we had Buddhist monks. We had, the Seventh-day Adventists. So we had the Watchtower guys, and we had rabbis, and so on and so on. So, and I got to learn a lot about all their faiths and how to supervise them and make sure that all patients came in, they had access to spiritual care.
That's great.
Process.
That's great. New York, it's a lot of different backgrounds in New York.
I've also traveled outside the country and throughout the country to teach, solution-focused pastoral counseling to early childhood educators, to nurses, to police officers, even some military, and how to de-escalate situations like that, how to do that, you
Great.
know?
De-escalate.
Yeah, from that. Sorry about that.
We are I always like to talk to you for a long time. I never want to stop. You're a very fascinating and very enlightened person. We're out of time, but any last thoughts? Anything you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think our viewers will find these books very helpful. I pray they go out and they purchase them and they'll see and then tell their friends and stuff like that. We're coming into a part of our society today where it's called the election time, and the campaigns are on, and this treasure of the eye. Many people have an eye for something, and that's where their hearts are, and they may do a lot of things to get to that place, and they may, divide and leave a lot of destruction in their wake. And I think people should just really and truly be mindful and don't follow or idolize any human being.
Right.
But lean on your faith and see what your faith says, and take time to follow the word of God in that process, and don't be so dismissive of it in reference to because of what other people do in that process. But learn your faith, learn the Christian faith or the Islamic faith and stuff like that, and don't judge it by people.
By people. Good.
Judge it by your heart,
Yes.
because everybody is running around blind. As I say, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, right? So
That's right.
So learn it, and make sound decisions based on that.
May I suggest to our viewers that here's the Corporate Christian series. There's 3 books that you pick these up. Don't order one. Order a couple copies of each one. And it's a true blessing to give these away. Give them to somebody that you think might need them. And maybe influence a life as Pastor Owen Williams has. Thank you, Pastor Williams. I sure appreciate you being on the show again.
Okay.
And we'll have you back anytime you like.
I didn't see you through our whole discussion, but I guess I'll see you next time.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I was on the air with you. Somebody didn't click the right button, but it was very good. Thank you, sir. And we'll be back with more authors right after this.